Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good afternoon. Hello, you all there, my student of Principles of Management course. I am DrRosmaini and this afternoon I'm going to be lecturing on the chapter number 8 of our syllabus titling Managing Group and Teams. This is basically equivalent to chapter 13, 1-3, chapter 13 of your e-textbook for your reading, right? Chapter 13 in your reading book is also titling Managing Group and Teams. Okay, that is for your basically supplementing reading of chapter 3, chapter 13 on the e-textbook for your reading. In this chapter, I would like to achieve few learning objectives. Basically, this learning objective, the first one is to enable you to define groups and the stages of group development. And secondly, I should be able to, for you to be able to describe the major components that determine group performance and satisfaction. And thirdly, I should be able to help you to understand and define themes and best practices that influencing team performance. Okay, what is a group? In the e-textbook reading by Professor Robbins, he highlighted an example of a group of firefighters, right? This is an example of a group of Malaysian firefighters. So a total of 9 of them. So by definition, group means that two or more interacting and interdependent individuals who are our abang bombas who come together to achieve specific goal. Of course, specific goal, it implies to for example, putting off fire that is engulfing a shop, for example, or a resident or a home. That is to achieve specific goal. And this group could be formal group or informal group. But in this case of this group of firefighters, right, they are formal group because they are basically working individual officers who are basically working for the fire brigade department. In this group, there are many people who are working with specific skill. Within these nine people, believe it or not, though they are all abang bomba, so they have a very specific skill of people who are good at doing certain tasks. For example, this abang bomba could be specifically skilled, right, to put off fire. These are the people who are braving the flames, right? Go up to the stair, try to put off the fire and try to save fire victims, right? These are called SER member, right? Search and rescue member. The other group could be specializing in the medical team support. They are called paramedic, right? So there as you go for the fire brigade group, there are specific people that are trying to achieve a specific goal, and they have a very specific skill. So in your e-textbook, it shows the exhibit 13.1. This gives example of formal work group, right? Formal work group as the abang bomba, they could be from the command group. This could be the captain or could be the chief station of the fire brigade. So these are basically the group that has the superior authority in which the subordinates under them reporting to this chief fire brigade officer. And the task group, as I said earlier, the task group could be search and rescue. The task group could be the paramedic. The task group could be scuba divers group. So these are all the task group that is reporting to the to the given manager, like the chief fire brigade officer for that station. And teams could be also cross-functional, right? So in order to in order to execute for a scuba diving effort, right? For example, a car jump from a bridge going to the river. So there must be a cross-functional team that join the team in order to execute the task, right? There could be a team majority-wise from the scuba diving team. There are a team that is also from the paramedics team or medical support. There are teams who give also auxiliary support. So all these teams are basically mixed together, joint effort in order to execute the task of scuba divers to save the victims inside the river, for example. There are also teams called self-managed team. These groups are essentially independent without basically a clear or appointed leader. They are basically doing their tasks as per what they are supposed to do. They manage their own team. It is like team of like gotong royong, right? Gotong royong in Malaysia normally done among the villagers to execute certain thing. For example, cooking food for the marriage ceremony, for example, right? Those are self-managed team when each individual knows what he or she has to do. Okay, so what are the stages of the group development? In order to develop a good group, they must be going to certain process, certain stages, right? For example, you are basically assembling a group for the project assignment. So that project assignment is itself is a group, right? So at the early stage, it is forming, right? It is the forming is the first stage of group development in which people join the group and then define the group purpose, structure, and leadership. Normally, in the group assignment project, it is 5 members of you. So normally during the formation, there are certain hesitancy, right? There are certain kind of yes or no situation in which who are supposed to be taken the task as a leader, right? And there might be a certain structure that the leader that is assigning. For example, this individual is doing the literature review. This individual is doing for example, data collection. This individual will be writing up the group project report. So those are the forming stage. Okay, the second stage after forming, definitely you're going to be discussing how to go about executing the group project report, right? And there you start exchanging kind of ideas, approach, which is a better approach or lesser approach, or maybe the most logical approach to execute the project assignment, right? That is what they call storming. You are trying to brainstorm through ideas or share ideas. What are the best approach to execute this project, or which company you want to go for interview, right? Is it just a short distance from your university, or is it far away from your university? So it depends. So during the brainstorming discussion, this is what they call storming stage. They're going to be always definitely there are some people who agree, that there are some people who are disagreeing. So that is common in the group project. So ultimately, definitely to move on, you have to agree on certain approach, right? After storming, arguing, debating, and try to get the best solution out of that, you will come up with a reasonable solution that everybody agree with, right? Some people give way, some people take charge, some people lead. That is the end of the process of storming. And the third stage after forming, this is what they call norming, right? you put out the norms, right, on the execution of the process. What is the most logical one? What is the most least expensive to execute the approach? So you are taking a normalization on certain thing, right, so that the relationship between all those members within the group is positive, and high cohesiveness, high sense of collaboration can be achieved. That is norming the situation. You try to come up with the real sense of the situation. And after norming, you are moving on the fourth stage of group development. You are developing the group. So you start performing. You start performing in which this group has members with its specific function. For example, Alif Aiman are appointed to contact the company that you want to do interview. So that is a group has agreed that Alif Aiman will try to outsource and try to get the companies who are intentionally suitable for the group task project to be contacted and to be arranging for appointment for interviewing and visit the company. That is, each member of the group will do certain tasks. That is performing. Last but not least, after the performance has been executed, interviewing has been done, data has been collected, right? So you sum up with the group project report. So that is the wrapping up of the project. And you will start to move the last stage of the group development, which is adjourning or disbanding or to stop the group project. Be adjourned, we stop, right? So at this final stage of group development, right, it is for temporary purpose in which group members are concerned with closing the activities, right? So once you complete the performing of the activities, then you are wrapping up and closing up the group project. So this is quite typical in any of the group project that you have been associated with. However, in this discussion, we look on the 5 stages of group development that you normally have experienced it so far. In your e-textbook, it shows the exhibit 13.2. 13 means the chapter, right? Point 2 is the figure number 2. These are the stages of group development that you have, that I have discussed earlier, and you normally have gone through this process. Stage 1 forming, stage 2 storming, stage 3 norming, stage 4 performing, and lastly stage 5 adjourning or closing up or terminating the activity of the group. So people will disperse after that. So in measuring the performance and satisfaction, right, of the group activity, this is the suggested model. Right, so it starts with this first step, which is external condition imposed on the group. So you have this group project. External condition, normally the assignment or the requirement, the task that you need to execute, normally set by external people. For example, your lecturer. Your lecturer has given the assignment sheet, what you are supposed need to do. For example, you need to go to interview of a servicing company. So these are the external condition basically set for the group members to execute. After getting the external condition, requirement, and what you need to do, group member resources, right? So group member will be allocated on certain resources, right? Resources such as time resources, resources such as some of you might need to purchase certain, for example, stationery. Some of you might, for example, to search for transportation. So group members are looking for resources. Within that, you normally should have the structure. So normally within 5 members of the group assignment project, so it is more efficient if there is a leader, right? Appointed leader or grid leader to lead you for executing this group project. Subsequently, after you have resources, you have the organizational structure of your group team, right? You move to the group process. What are the process that you need to do to execute from process 1, process 2, process 3, and process 4 until finish, right? To achieve the actual outcome, the performance, and uh, successfully satisfying in getting the output of the project. So within the group process, to the performance and satisfaction of the group task execution, you have the group tasks, right? You are grouped into certain tasks to execute in order to accomplish the whole group project performance. Okay, my lecture and discussion of this chapter in chapter 8, managing group and teams, are basically discussing this process flow, right? From external condition, right, to group member resources, group structure, right? And to that, what are the group need to do in the processes and achieving the outcome based on the group tasks being assigned. So the first component that I'm discussing is the on the far left of the flow chart, right, is external condition imposed on the group. External conditions include a few things. For example, the organization strategy, right? For organization, the authority of relationship, formal rules and regulation, the availability of resources, and employee selection. So let's take a look a group of Proton company organization. So now Proton has teamed up with Geely. So you have the Team Proton and Team Geely. So in order for company selection criteria, of course, the Chinese top management has certain requirement, and of course, the Malaysian Proton team members have certain requirement for employee selection. So within this requirement, so Proton and Geely need to agree on certain approach in order what kind of people or what kind of team members got to be recruited. And definitely Geely will have very much interest to bring their Geely China team members into the team working in Malaysia. And of course, within that team Malaysia, there are team members of Malaysian citizen need to be brought in order to collaborate, because this is a collaboration of at international scale, in which Geely heavily invested into Malaysian operation. So some kind of employee criteria selection is being agreed upon. So external condition imposed on the group have to be agreed by both the Chinese team and also with the Malaysian team. Okay, after that we move on to the group member resources within this Geely and Proton organizational chart. So of course each member have their own kind of strength and the resources. For example, Malaysian team members have the knowledge of the how does Malaysian operation best to work with, right? And perhaps certain kind of skill, technological skill, the Geely team members has a better advantage. So they are all collaborate with their own specific abilities and with their own personality skill. Perhaps Malaysian team members of the Proton may have a better communication skill in terms of communicating in English, for example. So the abilities maybe on the technical design, on the technical process, maybe the Geely Chinese team member has a better advantage. So the accumulation and the integration and the assimilation of this knowledge, abilities, skill, and personal trait are becoming the resources of the Proton GD team in order to operate in Malaysia. So each member has their own specific niche strength to be contributed for the Proton GD operation in Malaysia. And on the group structure, right, or the organizational chart, there are going to be role, norms, conformity, and so on, right? So, for example, a role. It is a behavior pattern unexpected for someone, expected of someone occupying a given position in social unit. So, in your group teams, right, they're going to be a role. For example, your role is a technical specialist, right, at Proton. So you are expected to be highly competent in designing, right, coming up with the processes and also drafting the technical schematic diagram and so on. So your role is basically given to you, right, as a in a position in a social unit. So you must satisfy this role as a technical specialist in order for your subordinates to comply with your authority, right? So that is the role. Everybody got their own role, right, on the specific task that they are expected to execute. Secondly, after the role, there are going to be norms, right? Norm is basically a standard or expectation that are accepted and shared by group members. For example, in Malaysia, normally automobile companies or car assembly company, the norms is for the employees wearing the same uniform. That is the norms. Like if in the US, normally automobile assembling company, they don't provide uniform. So by having a uniform, there is a better spirit of camaraderie or togetherness or sense of belonging in order for members to work as a team, more efficient and more standardized. Right? In the group structure, there is also the what they call conformity. Right? Conformity is many people would like to have a sense that they are conforming to the group for the group, right? If the group take decision as such to move on with certain execution, normally most of the team members will try to conform, right? So this is what they call on the as a group thing, right? A group thing conformity as part of the way to execute a task. Okay, as example by this conformity, right? So this is one experiment, psychological experiment done by scientists, right? So they give this card, right, to a group of people, right? So if I were to ask you x, all right, this x vertical line is most comparable or most equivalent to which line, right? So if many of the group members agree that x vertical line is almost equivalent to the b line, right? So the conformity says that most of the group or all the group members will agree that x is equivalent to b, right? The test also set up with a setting as such that X has been told to the group members that X is equivalent to A, right? So it is a psychological test, right? If that one group has 10 members, right, nine members said nine members has been told that A is equivalent to X, right? Definitely the other team member, the only one, which is you or me, will tend to agree that if majority of the people say that A almost is equivalent to X, and you are the one who last to decide whether X is equivalent to A. However, you think that X is equivalent to B, right? But all your team members, the team members, all the 9 team members say that X is equivalent to A. So the conformity rule is that you have a tendency to agree that X is almost equivalent to A because the rest of the team members say that X is almost equivalent to A instead of B. You won't believe that X is equivalent to B. However, since the majority say that X is equivalent to A, then you tend to conform with the majority of the people who agree that A is equivalent to X, right? So this is what they call the group think, right? The group thinking, which is related to the disaster of Challenger in 1986, in which some group team members think that Challenger is not suitable to be launched on that day. However, the majority of the managers in the NASA space station think that Challenger is suitable or competent or suitable to be launched today. So the fact that Challenger has been was launched on that day and it explodes, all right? In certain situation, conformity can turn to be bad, and of course, certain situation conformity tend to be good. All right, so that is the ARCH experiment on conformity, right? So in the group structure, there are also the status system or system layer, right? Status is equivalent to prestige, grading, position, ranking within the group, or in other words, sometimes they call it what? Seniority. Some people, they call it is a societal layer of status system and so on. For example, status system. If I were to ask you, right, in terms of status, which one is higher, Mercedes-Benz or Geely cars, right? So think for a while. So, and I would believe that majority of you would think that due to status system, most of you will say Mercedes-Benz has a better status compared to Geely, right? So perhaps that is due to years of exposure, years of awareness, years of knowledge that you have, right? But it is definitely not so, right? In terms of status system, Geely nowadays has a 10% stake at Mercedes-Benz, right? So Geely partly owns Mercedes-Benz. However, Mercedes-Benz does not own any stake on Geely. So the status quo in believing that Mercedes-Benz is better than Geely is actually a myth, right? In actual statistical and in the status system, in fact, Geely has a better status compared to Mercedes because Geely has 10% stake in Mercedes. So that is how the status go, right? In the group structure, they also explain on the group size, right? Group size means that the bigger the group, for each member of the group think that they can do less in order to execute the outcome, right? So that's why an efficient group size is normally between 5 to 7, right? If it is too many, so it becomes that each member thinks that they can do less work in comparison to others, right? So if it is a group of 2, of course, definitely you believe you need to do a lot of work. But if it is a group of 12, automatically, because there are a big number of people within the group, so the members tend to think that you got to do less tasks or less contribution in this kind of big group. So that is common sense. So what happen if it is too big? So normally the group become less efficient, right, in terms of executing to achieve the outcome. Subsequently, in the group structure, there is what they call group cohesiveness, right? Group cohesiveness is the degree of which the group member to group member are attached together, or they are seriously working together, right? So group cohesiveness, which is highly efficient, right, can be seen in this operation theater, surgery operation, right? So because all members inside this surgery team want to has high sense of achieving a goal in which to execute the surgery successfully, right, and get the patient back to health, because it is about life or death, right? So everybody has to be highly cohesive, because the surgeon, the anesthetist, right, the nurse, right, the support system, right, so must work highly cohesive in order to achieve the goal, which is saving a patient. Of course, this is got to be highly cohesive group. And in terms of correlation between cohesiveness and achieving goal, right, we can see that the surgery operation team is very high cohesiveness and very high spirit to achieve the goal, which is saving the patient. So in that situation, the surgeon operation team basically achieve a strong increase in productivity, right? So the other comparison of a group, right, in trying to achieve a goal, for example, winning in a football soccer match, for example, this example of Liverpool team, right? Of lately, Liverpool team is kind of struggling, right? It is like a keep losing and sometime winning and then losing again. So it is a kind of struggling mode. So in the current situation of Liverpool team, it is like a low cohesiveness. However, they want to achieve or winning the match, right? So that is a situation in which the Liverpool is having now. Low cohesiveness, partly due to new players that is recruited by the Liverpool team in order to join the Liverpool team main 11, or replacing certain player who has passed away and so on, right? I think this season Liverpool is having slightly low cohesiveness due to new players joining them. In comparison to last year when they won the English Cup, they have a very high cohesiveness last year, and that is one of the reason why they won the English Premier League, right? So whether you are in low or high, it depends on situation. It depends on how good and how bad the team can gel together, collaborate together to achieve the same goal, which is winning the match and later winning the prize or the trophy. So subsequently, we discuss on the processes that in which the group must execute, right, in order to make decision, right? So the group is basically a group process itself has the advantage, right? So the group process in order to execute certain tasks can be seen like this, right? If a policeman, right, doing the round check, right, by the two, right, there are two of them. Normally, they will be more efficient, all right, because there is a check and balance, there is a support in each with each other when if they make a round check alone. Right? That's why in the police car, normally there are two policemen working in the shift, right? So that is the advantage, right? So the two will make each other, the outcome, the task will become more efficient in comparison if it is only a single policeman doing the round check, right? That is common sense. That's why many authorities like police department, they attach a team of two in order to execute their job, right? When your group is processing certain tasks, right? Because it involves two or more people, two or more policemen, since we are human, we tend to have the tendency to have conflict, right? The tendency to have conflict with the other team members because yes, we are human. However, looking at this conflict, you can see there are few views approach in understanding this conflict. First, conflict understanding. The first one, they call it traditional view of conflict. Traditional view of conflict, perhaps it is seen that any conflict is negative, right? Any conflict is considered bad. Any conflict will be treated as unproductive. That is the old view of seeing things, right? The second view of looking at conflict is human relations view of conflict. It views that conflict is a natural, right? Since we are human, we have our own process of thought. We have our own process of making decision. So that's going to be definitely leading up to certain conflicting of interest or conflicting of importance because we think differently. Sometimes we make a decision also slightly different from others. This is what human relation view of conflict, which is considered normal, unavoidable. There got to be a conflicting of decision, conflicting or ways of doing things. Right, in the overall of interactionist view of conflict, right? So this is how we take a look on certain conflict is considered positive, which is considered good. They call it a functional conflict, right? In functional conflict, the viewer sees that conflict is good to improve performance, right? Conflicting or disagreement is good for overall outcome of performance. Okay, remember back in 1985, right? The Malaysian government setting up Proton, the first national car is being set up, a joint venture with Mitsubishi. That is back in 1985. Why? Few years later, the same Malaysian government set up the second national car. They call it Perodua, right? 2 or 3 years after Proton being set up, second national car being set up. Why? Because for Proton to operate their business alone, it is called a monopoly, which is actually not good, monopoly situation. That's why Malaysian government create the second entity of Perodua so that they can have a kind of a competition or conflicting view so that the nation as a whole, right, the population can benefit to have a best car at the most affordable price for their daily use. That's why case for Proton and Perodua is seen as a functional conflict, right? So Proton focus on the bigger size car like sedan, whereas Perodua can better focus on smaller car, right? Which is a second car use, right? So that the best of both can emerge, right? To us, it is a conflicting by having two brand, but to consumer, to population, to people, it is good because this is what they call interactionist view of conflict. They say that conflict is good to produce the most efficient, most positive outcome of a situation. Okay, so of course the other conflict is called it dysfunctional. Dysfunctional means that if the national car, right, cannot produce the best car due to this conflicting of interest, right? That is a situation of managing conflict between Proton and Perodua, and so far the conflicting has been functional and positive. Okay, in your textbook, it is showing or highlighting the how does conflict, right? This is a level of conflict, the x-axis, and how does it relate to the group performance on axis y, right? So it is said that in the graph of conflict and group performance, it is like a sinusoidal wave, right? There is a lower part to it, and at certain situation or at certain time, it is the peak, and more than the level of conflict occur, that is become negative, right? In other words, in order to have a best conflict and group performance situation, right, we take a look on this B position, right, in the middle, in which, right, if it is level of conflict at the B position, it is at optimal, right, and the type of conflict is functional, and the group of internal characteristic is viable, self-critical and innovative, and the level of group performance become high. So this is a situation in which Perodua and Proton is suited with now. All right, in which Proton has their own niche, Perodua has their own niche, so they are competing at a very functional conflict situation, right? So Proton has introduced EV car in terms of EMAS 7 and EMAS 5, and soon after that, Perodua also coming up in the market, introduced their EV car, right? So that is what they call functional conflict that produced productive and positive result. All right, this is highlighted in Exhibit 13.7 in your e-textbook for reading. Okay, there are a few other types of conflict like task-based conflict or relationship-based conflict or process-based conflict, right? So, however, I think that most of the type of conflict, it is related to relational conflict, right? Relationship conflict, which is conflict based on interpersonal relation, right? You know, as human, basically, we are not always work well with other people, right? Certain type of people are suitable to work only with certain type of people. So this is what we are dealing with, which is human, right? So if we can overcome the relationship conflict, the organization normally can operate smooth, right? Without so much hassle and hiccups, they can operate successfully, right? So three types of conflict. All right. Now we are moving on the group task, right? Group tasks, right? Each group has given a task. This is also actually explaining, right? This kind of process flow, right? Group task is basically we are here, right? Group task is actually a task which is assigned to a certain group. So we have discussed from the external condition imposed on the group, and later group member resources, group structure. Now we are the group process, and now I'm explaining at the group task position based on this process flow from left to the right. Okay, group task. Okay, group task is basically in related to group teams, right? So that's why we have the difference between group and teams, all right? Group basically is more organized with a leader, right? With a clear instruction. However, work teams, right, is actually a group whose member works intensely on the specific, right? But having common goal using their positive synergy, individual and mutual accountability, and complementary skill. Okay, in the e-textbook, the analogy to the work teams is, for example, these F1 teams, right? These F1 teams actually, when they do their operation, they don't have a specific leader. But basically, all of these members, right, 12 members or 10 team members knows what they need to do when the F1 racing car come to the pit. So no leader. So every member knows what they need to do. For example, this three member is responsible for replacing the frontal, replacing the backside of the tire on the right side, and these three members knows that they need to replace this bag on the left side tire and so on. So definitely in this situation, you don't need a leader to, oh, you do that, you do that kind of task. all these 10 or 12 team members know what they need to execute on that very short moment of time, maybe less than 1 minute, right? That is work teams. Okay, work teams versus group, right? Work teams or work groups. So we take a look on this, all right, on these two column of information here. For work teams, right, normally everybody execute their own leadership, right? For work group, only can be one manager, right? So that is the difference between work group and work teams, right? Work team has a very vague who leads who. Definitely, each member knows what they need to do. However, on work group, there got to be one leader. Normally, one manager who leads the whole thing, the whole work got to be executed, right? So basically, in work team, right, work is done collectively, just for executing the tire replacement of a F1 car, right? So work done collectively. Everybody does their own task, which has been let known to them, and they know what to do. But in the work group, normally one person of the group has their own task, right? Be done specifically by them. For example, the fire brigade, right? Work is done individually. For example, that team member is assigned for scuba diving. That team member is assigned for paramedic. That team member is assigned for search and rescue to put off the fire. So that is the difference between work teams and work group. Okay. Types of work teams. Right. We take a look on the specific type of work team. For example, the team which is focusing on problem solving team, right? In manufacturing company and facility, normally problem solving team is set up as a QCC team, quality control and cycle team. In the Japanese word, they call it Kaizen team. They solve certain problem, for example, reducing the amount of scrap, right, for that process. So they solve only that problem. So that is first work team type, solving a problem, right? Team. And the second type is self-managed work team, a type of work team that operates without a manager and responsible for a complete work process. For example, self-managed team is by example of this like patient, right? Patient is being treated by a group of, for example, first responder team. So each team, either the doctor, either the nurse, or the medical assistant know what they need to do, and they have to do their own tasks, right? Because this is self-managed work team, right? Doctor does the doctor task, nurse does the nurse task, medical officer does the medical officer task, and so on, like a team of paramedic in an ambulance. That is self-managed work team. The third type of work teams is basically cross-functional. As I have said earlier, in manufacturing firm, normally in order to produce a new model of a product, right, or the enhanced model of a product, so you need a cross-functional team. So you need a team member from finance, you need a team member from production, you need a team member from engineering, you need team member from marketing, you need team member from perhaps human resource. So this is a cross-functional team in a manufacturing firm like Sony or like Dyson in order to work to execute a new product line of a vacuum cleaner, for example. That is work functional team. So each member from each department send a representative in order to produce, design, and come up with a new product. Okay, the fourth type of work teams is what they call virtual team. Nowadays, virtual team has become more prevalent because of our technological advancement in internet, bandwidth, network. So our sharing speed of information become faster. So now you have a virtual team, for example, in the multinational company, because they have many branches all around the world, right? For example, Toyota, it has many branches all around the world, in Japan, in Malaysia, in UK, in the US. So many of teams now exist virtually, right? So the marketing team in the US, perhaps they does the marketing research, right? The production design team in Japan, right? The production assembly is in Malaysia. So they collaborate globally, whole world, in the virtual setting team, right? They meet, they meeting, they discuss, they work, submission, report, all based on virtual, right? Because nowadays many people work based on virtual or a nomad environment, right? They can work anywhere, any place, anytime, all around the world. So that is what virtual team, which is becoming very common nowadays in during this industrial revolution 4.0 era. How basically we could create effective teams, be it virtual teams, right? Be it physical teams, or be it teams that you can form problem solving teams, right? First, you need a clear goals, right? A clear goals, for example, in the Kaizen teams, right? Kaizen is an improvement or quality control teams, right? So normally they set a target. For example, reducing scrap by 15%, right? They set specific example from certain higher level of scrap into a lower certain level of scrap. For example, last month's scrap is 100 kilo, right? However, due to Kaizen teams and quality control circle, they want to reduce the scrap now to 50 kilo. So half of it, right? So that means a clear goal. In order to have effective teams also, there got to be an assimilation of relevant skill. In order for QCC project to execute the reduction of scraps for next month, right? They need to have this, for example, process engineer, right? Because they are well versed in the process setting, in the process kind of flow and so on. They got to be have, for example, the maybe machine operator who are operating the machine, running the machine for producing goods. They need to have a teams from maybe the marketing, because the marketing is the one who knows the complaint, the feedback from customer pertaining quality, pertaining performance. So they must feed this feedback from markets to the quality control teams. There must be a mutual trust within the QCC teams that they are able to execute reduction of 50% of the quantity of the scrap by next 2 months, right? They must have that trust. So the operator can do it, the engineer can help, right? The marketing can assist in terms of response from the market and so on. And lastly, they got to have a unified commitment in order to execute, right, the goal set by the QCC team to reduce the scrap into half, right, in the upcoming month. So there are 4 other requirements to create effective work teams. They need to have the good communication. Normally, they assemble a meeting every day or the other day in order to execute the improvement of reducing scrap. Right? They always communicate each other. They test the process together, and they got to be a negotiating skill. For example, from the machine production operator with the engineers, right? What is the best way of setting, for example, temperature, right? For example, the ambient environment, for example, the raw material, and for example, the setting of the machine to be optimum, that as such, the outcome is less scrap for setting got to be produced. So they negotiate among production operators and also technical team and also marketing team members. And definitely you got to have a appropriate leadership, right? If it is a project that involving reduction of scraps in production, then normally the team will appoint a leader, maybe for example a process engineer, in order to reduce the whole process of production, so that lesser scrap could be generated from the setting of the machine operation. And last but not least, for for creating effective teamwork, you need overall support from the top management, from the team which is related, for example, warehousing, for example, team members from purchasing and so on. So these are the internal and external support that helps to contribute to achieve the QCC goal in reducing the scrap, right, from 100 kilogram per month to be at 50 kilogram per month. That is how 50% of reduction. Okay, in overall, to have effective teams, you need all these components, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, and 11 components. So you need to have clear goals, right? So how much scrap need to be reduced for the future. You need to have this relevant skill for among engineers, production operator, machine operator, support from marketing, support from purchasing, and so on. They got to be a mutual trust, right? That each of these members can help to achieve the goals, which is reduction the production scrap from 100 kilogram per month to 50 kilogram per month. There got to be a unified commitment from all the department, good communication. Sometimes you got to negotiate. Somebody got to lead the project in order to have a good coordination, planning, organizing, directing, and controlling. And you have also to have the external and internal support, as shown in the exhibit 13.9. Right, all these 11 components need to be interacting and collaborating together. So, last but not least, how to build team skill. Definitely, you need to have a skillful manager, right? And managers that work as a coach, they can coach team members in order to optimize what they can contribute. For example, this QCC team manager from the process engineering department. So normally he or she is an engineer or a manager. So they need to coach the production operator. They need to help the process engineer. They need to help the purchasing executive who purchase the raw material. They need to help and coach also the, for example, warehouse people in order to prepare and kit the material for production. So all these are basically needed team members in order to create more committed, collaborative, and inclusive teams, right? That is what group and teams, is all about, right? So building and efficient teams, right, requires skill as a manager. On the overall, I'm wrapping up that let's relook on the whether we have achieved the objective, learning objective 1, which is I got to basically make you understand, define the group, all right? So define the group like in the firefighting brigade in order to put out a fire at the homes or residents who caught fire. So there are stages for you to form a group, right? For example, in relation to your group project, they got the stage to form, each other, and you brainstorming each other, then you normalize things, already try to accept things as what they are, and then you start performing, contributing, do your own tasks, and you achieve your outcome, and later you disband and adjourn the team. Second learning objective, I hope I am able to help you to describe the major components of group performance and satisfaction. It could be from external, it could be from group decision making as we had discussed earlier, and it could be from the better way of managing conflict. Right? Some conflict are positive, not all conflicts are negative. Okay, I hope I have been able to help you to define teams. What are the difference between group team, or what are the different with group project? So team works and also group works, right? So as such, we can build a good and skillful team in order to achieve the ultimate goal, which is highest performance, higher productivity. And guys, I believe that I have recorded this lecture for about 1 hour. So I hope I had been able to make you understand better on how to best manage teams and groups for this chapter, chapter 8. I am hopeful that you can read in detail on your ebooks for better understanding, better grasp of the topic that is being discussed in this lecture. All right, please read the ebooks on chapter 13, titling Managing Group and Teams. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for your subsequent self-reading, self-understand on the ebook. Okay, that's all my lecture for today. I hope it is basically able to understand you better for chapter 8, Managing Group and Teams. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your cooperation, and all the best. A good day. Bye bye.